Hello, I'm Gianna Grillo, the Business Management Article and Kahoot Manager at Business Bootcamp. Today, we are going to be going over the styles of management. Once again, this presentation is brought to you by Business Bootcamp. So before we begin, think about a setting that is very familiar to you, a classroom, and teachers. I'm sure all of you have experienced teachers that teach in different ways. Some will just hand you assignments and tell you to complete them by a certain due date. Others will make sure you follow a certain procedure and be very strict with how it's done. Others will even let you collaborate with others and discuss how you would like to do the assignment. This is just like managers out in the business world. The management styles for all different business leaders varies. And today we are going to cover the three main different styles. There are three different types: autocratic, participative, and free rein. So, first off, what is an autocratic manager? Simply put, an autocratic manager is a manager that centralizes power. They like to have full authority. This means that they will make all of the decisions, big or small, no matter what. And this tends to make employees feel fearful or insecure because they know that they're being micromanaged and that there's a very specific way that things have to be done, and they have no say. And a benevolent autocrat is someone who uses his power in a positive way. As much as it seems like to be very negatively put, a benevolent autocrat is someone who would use this power to make decisions that could be tough and do it for the greater good. A participative manager is someone who decentralizes power and shares it with others. In other words, they like to have group collaboration and group decisions. They work with employees to reach goals and motivate them in the process. So they might establish specific objectives, but then work with them to reach all of those goals to get to the greater endpoint. And once again, they're inclusive in decision making. It's not just what they say goes. They might ask, who would prefer to do this? Who would prefer to do that? And they can be very flexible. This type of management style is preferred by most. Lastly, a free rein manager is a manager who avoids the use of power. They basically just say, all right, here's what needs to be done, and you find a way to do it. This means that employees have to set their own goals and motivate themselves. Now, this can be a good thing or a bad thing. If you have trouble deciding what to do, or if you're the type of person who usually asks questions and needs a lot of assistance, this style isn't good for you because you're left on your own. Also, if you procrastinate and usually rely on someone else to tell you, come on, get this done, that support's not going to be there. The manager gives objectives, and the employees are free to do whatever they need to accomplish it. So it does give you a lot of freedom and creativity to do what you want. And if a problem occurs, you're expected to solve it on your own. What is the best management style? Now, many of you might be thinking it's participative because it gives the most overall collaboration. However, it's a trick question. It's a mixture of all of them. This is because there are certain situations where you're going to have to use other styles. There's going to be times where the manager is given information that lower rank employees cannot know, and they have to make the decision themselves. There's going to be other times where you have employees who want freedom and creativity to do stuff on their own. And that's when it's best to use a free rein approach. But overall, a lot of times people want to make the decision and have a say. And so that's why participative is usually the most popular, but the best managers are able to use both. And here is a scenario. Holly is a manager at a company in NYC. Many of her employees consider her to be a participative manager. Which of the following descriptions accurately portrays Holly? Description 1. Holly spends most of her day in the office doing her own work. At the beginning of each week, she establishes what needs to be done. Her employees then go off and do the tasks as they please. Now let's analyze this description. She spends most of her day in her own office, and she establishes what needs to be done only once in the week. And then her employees do things independently and they just submit the task at the end of the week. This seems like the employees have a lot of freedom and that Holly's pretty distant when it comes to telling the employees what they need to accomplish. This makes it sound like free reign. So that's not participative. Moving on to description 2, Holly asserts control over her employees. She specifically tells them how to do tasks and makes all of the decisions, big or small. She usually does not listen to the input of employees. Right off the bat, we see the word asserts. This usually shows a lot of control. In addition, she doesn't listen to the input of her employees and she makes all of the decisions. This automatically signals autocratic management style. Lastly, description 3. Holly and her team of employees collaborate and come to an agreement on how to complete the weekly tasks. They share their own ideas and come to Holly for assistance. The word collaborate is the big signal in this description. They collaborate and they all decide together how they want to go about doing the tasks. In addition, they can come to Holly for help, which is great motivation, great backbone for support, and they all share their own ideas. Description 3 is definitely a participative manager, which is Holly. This concludes this week's Business Bootcamp video, and tune in next week for a great article.